What is up, guys? It is me, Real American Politics, back with a new video. Finally, we're here with a presidential prediction. I know it's been a long time for this, but I think it's time before my next Senate prediction, or whatever I do next, to do a quick presidential prediction, because ever since my last one, a lot of things kind of happened in the world. You know, things were on fire. Unironically, don't take that seriously, YouTube. And a lot of stuff happened, and I want to give my opinion on what the election's looking like for 2024, because it's going to be Trump for the Republicans. That's people say it's not going to be Trump. Mathematically, there's no way he could lose a nomination unless they do what they did to Bernie in 2016. But Trump's going to win the nomination. He has 80% of the Republican vote already. Even if Pence would get crushed, by the way. There's no way that Pence would beat Trump. Trump would kill everybody in primary. YouTube, seriously, it's a joke. Don't take it seriously. But you get the point. And the Democrats, I'm going to flat out say they're screwed. They're screwed in 2024. And I know boomers and the doomers be like, but the fortification, what's going to happen? Look at Virginia. If you set up infrastructure that the Youngkin campaign did to detect the mysterious fortification, yeah, you could win. And he did win. And it was a close election. He did win. And by the way, there's no, 5-6 point swing in Virginia because that's nonsense. Youngkin won by, I think, like a point and a half at this point, which, by the way, I was spot on with. But you get the point that the you-know-what word, not really a thing. It's 2020 was a one-off. A lot of weird shit happened, and we get the point. So let's get rid of the safe states, because I really don't want... Oh, no, not Tilt, Wyoming. Dear Lord. Sorry about that, folks. Anyways, so all of this is safe Republican. Texas, safe Republican. When I talk with Arizona, I'll talk about why I think Texas is safe Republican. All of this is safe Ohio. I mean, guys, Ohio and Iowa are safe Republican. And Maine second, I dare say, safe Republican also. So this is the Republican wall of 2024. While Democrats, they get the usual states. We all know... the usual states, but there is one state in particular in the northeast that I'm just gonna leave open for now. I'm not gonna say much, but there's a certain state I'm intrigued about. So this is the safe, no matter what you do, you could shoot somebody, these states will vote the same way they do. Now, I have an elephant in the room when it comes to Oregon and New Jersey. Here's my opinion on New Jersey. I'm just going to flat out say this. I think something is happening in the Northeast. In particular, New Jersey. We saw this in the governorship election. And People's Pundit, one of the best pollsters in America, pulled the national survey, and in particular, had the Northeast region. Biden's underwater in the Northeast. So much so, he's losing to Trump in the Northeast. Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York. I know Pennsylvania, I think's included. But still, all of this is nearly safe Democrat. And Trump's leading this region? Yeah, something tells me there's something going on in New Jersey, because New Jersey had very shocking results, to say the least. I know it's a governorship. It's a little bit different. But the parts that Carantini was able to do better in, that's a lot of where Trump's main base is. So something tells me there's something afoot in the Northeast. Now for Oregon, I'm going to say this. I think the riots played a big factor in the swings we saw in Oregon and even Minnesota. I think those were one-offs where how much they swung Democrat, mostly because of the riots. I wish Trump would have done something. That's the one thing that if he would have, done something about the riots, I think he would have won either way. If he would have done something about the riots, even with the fortification, he probably would have won. That's a big mistake he made. If he would have shut down the riots immediately in Minnesota, there would have been this nonsense of BLM protests nationwide. It would have helped Trump significantly. And the turnout for the white man bad group is kind of dead at that point. So that's why I'm saying the swings in 2020, in particular Minnesota and Oregon, I think they're one-offs. Again, New Jersey we'll get to in a second. So let's start with New Jersey. I think it's likely Democrat. This is the hot take of all hot takes, but I do think it's within 10 points. what happened in the New Jersey governorship? I think Carotene lost by like 2.5 points. Democrats are celebrating that. You almost lost to a Republican in New Jersey. Good job. Just standing ovation. Good job. But New Jersey, the reason I'm saying these results are not flukes is you do a deep dive in the precinct data. It's mostly white working class parts. Working class parts in general, but in particular, white working class parts of Ocean County that made the hugest Republican surge, in southern Jersey. So that's a base that Trump, I think personally, is going to absolutely crush Democrats with in 2024. Even any Republican, but I think Trump in particular. A lot of those voters that still, white working class, blue collar Democrats, outside of, the crazy ones in freaking San Francisco, I think they've left the Democrat Party after what's happened the past 3 months with inflation, Afghanistan, the critical race theory nuke that happened in Loudoun County, which we'll get to in a second. But New Jersey, I think, would be likely Democrat. And getting rid of the obvious states, Florida's gone. Republicans passed party registration a while ago. I mean, even in the Tampa area, they're surging. Miami-Dade, that's not a fluke. So that's just an obvious one. I mean, there may be another obvious one coming up, but yeah, I think that Florida will be likely Republican in 2024. And possibly safe Republican at this point. The state's not a toss-up anymore. That ship has sailed completely for Democrats. Now, Colorado, likely Democrats. So is Oregon. Oregon, I think that if you compare the swing to 2016 to 2020, a lot of it was the BLM nonsense, the riots that happened, and Trump really doing nothing to solve it. With Colorado, I do think a little bit in Colorado, but particularly nationwide. The nationwide swings we saw in places like Virginia, North Carolina, even Arizona to an extent, of white middle-class independents that live in the suburbs swinging heavy Democrat because of, Biden was able to, pretend that he cared about those people. He pretended to give a shit about them. Well, we saw what happened in Virginia with the education issue, so I'm just going to let that speak for itself, why I think that, a lot of these middle-class whites, especially in the suburbs, that usually voted based on their children's education, why I think that they're not only going to the Republican Party, but some even returning to the Republican Party because of inflation, the critical race theory nonsense, all of that. So that's why I think those two states, that's my hot take. My hot takes are likely Oregon and likely New Jersey. I don't care what the election mafia says with their garbage polls. They're off by 12 points in New Jersey. I don't give a shit. This is my hot takes. New Jersey, Colorado, Oregon, likely Democrats. Same thing with Virginia. I think Virginia, it's going to be the new Nevada, to say the least. It'd be a 5-6 point win for Democrats. Well, a better example is the reverse North Carolina. It's always going to be 5-6 points for Democrats instead of North Carolina, which is a 5-6 point win for Republicans. That's kind of what's happening in Virginia. And speaking of North Carolina, that state is just cursed. When it comes to politics, that state is just weird. So North Carolina, I think, is going to be the opposite of Virginia, vice versa. 5-6 point win for Republicans. Virginia, 5-6 points win for the Democrats. And Republicans at this point already gained back the House. They probably have a Senate supermajority. So this is kind of already a good election for Republicans. Even if this is the final result, they don't win anything else, I think this is a pretty big win. Now, let's get to the Southwest, because this is where there is two states in particular I am getting sick of. Oh, they can't go Republican because Bush was able to win, but Trump couldn't. It's nonsense. I'm talking about Arizona and Nevada. With Nevada, it's one of the most Republican trending states in the country. In fact, I think it's going to flip either way in 2024. It's shifted exactly, I think, 2.5 points exact right compared to the national environment since 2008. That means it shifted 2 points right when the national environment swung 4 points. It's actually a 6-point shift. Then 2016 happened, a 3-point shift. 2020, it shifted a couple points left, but Nevada actually trended a point Republican because you get the point. Nevada is one of the most Republican trending states outside of a sort of Midwestern state, which I do believe has to do with a lot of the working class union workers in Las Vegas. And this is my hot take, another big hot take. I think Nevada, And the great state of Arizona will go lean Republican. I think Nevada actually votes right of Arizona. Maybe it's opposite. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I do think that Nevada is the southwest version of Wisconsin. There's a lot of working class union workers that have still voted Democrat that are finally starting to vote a bit more Republican. That's why I think that those two states, they're going Republican. In Arizona, Biden's approval in Arizona stinks. It absolutely stinks. And you saw what happened with education. Republicans run on education. It doesn't matter how much the white suburbanite voter hates the Trump man. It doesn't matter. If he runs on education, he wins the state, which I'll be making a video in Arizona because I'm sick of misinformation in that state. Now, New Mexico, this is a weird one. There's a lot of Hispanics in the state, and there's a lot of, the white middle-class suburbanite, which I've been saying is a group that will, I think, vote majority Republican in 2020. It voted, or 2024, it voted I think 5-6 points Democrat, or something like that. But here's the issue with the state. This is the biggest issue. Yeah, I got a lot of working class Hispanics, but a lot of these middle class whites that live in the suburbs, they're the hippie types. They're the ones that, closer to San Francisco than the ones in the Dallas suburbs. They're not more moderate on issues. They're just like San Francisco hippies. That's what I call them. This is the issue with the state. And I do think that New Mexico still will go to the Democrats by a 5, maybe 4-point margin, but for now, I'll say a 5-point margin. It's going to vote right of Colorado, which I'm still shocked that happened, but Colorado, I think, votes left New Mexico, but New Mexico will, I think, shift a couple points Republican compared to the national environment. It's going to become a future toss-up state, so that's another one of my hot takes. My big hot takes is Oregon, Nevada, Colorado, New Jersey, New Mexico. Those are my big hot takes, but that's just my opinion. Now Georgia. Do I have to put a margin here? Look, somebody on Twitter, I think the Brian Kemp Stan account, he makes some good points about Georgia, why it's, going to be a purple state for a while. I think Republicans win it by 2 points or so. It's such a tough state because, there's a lot of working class voters there, but they're all black working class voters, and there's a lot of the film industries moving down there. It's a tough one, but I say a 2-3 point win for the great Donald Trump. Now Nebraska's second. This was a Biden by 7 points. It got a half point more Republicans since then. Do I think that Nebraska's second could shift 8 points Republican? I think there was a lot of mysterious things that happened in Omaha, but do I think that's gonna? I'm just gonna leave Nebraska's second blank. I'm ignoring it. Doesn't exist. You screwed up there, Republicans. By the way, Anyways, I'm not gonna worry about it. That's a tough one because you're talking about a 7-point shift. I don't think it's gonna be that extreme because it's a 7-point shift back in Nebraska's second when it's a tough district to call, but I'll just leave it as a toss-up. I think it'll be a complete toss-up. I think that's fair enough. Now, Minnesota, I think, still goes to Biden by a half point. That state's never voting Republican unless this inflation stuff gets any worse somehow. But as of now, I think that Biden's going to barely hold on Minnesota. I still think there's a bit too many of the BLM nuts that live there. If that goes away by 2024 somehow, if BLM's popularity continues to collapse in Minnesota, then sure, but I'm still thinking that Biden's slightly ahead there. Now, my home state, Wisconsin, I'm not even debating people. I don't care what people say. Lean Republican, same thing in Pennsylvania. The Democrats have lost their working class base. We saw this in New Jersey. We're going to see this in Oregon. Republicans, I think, have a huge advantage in these states. These two states, I think, are going to be borderline safe by 2028. That's my opinion. These are a lot of union Democrats that still vote Democrat, but are finally starting to vote Republican, and hopefully they vote Republican in 2024, which a lot of them did, but we all know Milwaukee. Anyways, Michigan, still Republican. Michigan's a weird state. That's all I'm going to say. I may have a video planned for that one in the future. Now, New Hampshire. New Hampshire. This is a tough one. It's a very anti-war state. Screw it, I'll give it to Trump. I'll just give it to Trump for the fact that it's a very anti-war state. The reason I think those shifts happened in New Hampshire were mostly the fact that Trump did not run on, the anti-war messaging. I think that if he would have ran on that, it would have been like a 2-3 point win for Biden. It's a very anti-war state, but Trump didn't capitalize on that. But a lot of people saw what happened to Afghanistan. That's his biggest approval collapse for Joe Biden is New Hampshire for after Afghanistan. So that's why I'm thinking that New Hampshire will vote for the Orange Man. Now, man at large, in the future it could be more competitive, but I still think like a borderline 5-point win for Democrats is likely. And this is my prediction map. I know we have Nebraska second, but I refuse to predict that one. That one is just going to be a mess to predict. But this is my current prediction. And again, I will be making a video on particular states. I'm talking to you, 5. But you get the point. This is my opinion. White middle-class independents, particular suburbanites, they're going to shift heavy Republican. So are the Union Democrats that still vote Democrat, but finally realize, oh yeah, this isn't the Bill Clinton Democrats. These are the globalist elite Democrats. There's a big difference, by the way. So this is my current prediction. Republicans, I think, are favored no matter what. Now, again, there's a couple pure toss-ups in Minnesota, New Hampshire, even Michigan may be a close one. But for now, Republicans still are heavily favored. And if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you do subscribe. So yes, thank you guys for watching.